Okay, so we are looking at criminal offenses, right? So it means what are things that in the Criminal Code of Canada, which is the official codified set of laws, what is in there, what makes it a code. So when people talk about what kind of things we consider to be crimes, we need to differentiate between two levels, right? Because we can all admit there's some crimes that uh, are more serious than other ones, right? Jaywalking is technically a crime. Murder is technically a crime. We do not treat jaywalkers like murderers. So we need to have different levels of offenses so that we can have justice. Remember, the idea of justice or criminal law is that we are looking to give the appropriate, I would say punishment, I guess, would be the word I'm using. It's not particularly a good word to use in this manner. But I would say the appropriate response to the appropriate act would be a better one, right? So there are different levels of offenses. We have two major ones. We have summary conviction offenses and we have indictable offenses. If you were an American, you would have misdemeanors and what's the other one? Capital offenses, I think, but I can't remember. I haven't watched. No, it just means a misdemeanor crime is something that's it's less of a crime. So summary offenses are crimes considered less serious and carry a lighter penalty. So these are crimes that are not as serious. So if Ryan goes up to the Longo's and he steals a chicken pot pie, that's still an offense. But it's a summary conviction. It usually means that, like it says here, it's a minor offense with severe less penalty. More serious crimes, generally speaking, a person convicted of such crimes, we find up to $2,000 or imprisonment of 6 months, right? Things like theft under 1,000 would be a summary offense, which means you stole something, but you didn't steal something of significant value, right? They're tried in provincial court for a justice or judge, right, without a jury. In fact, there's a better chart I want to show you that kind of breaks down everything here. Here we go, right? So it's smaller crimes, smaller fines, not a lot of jail time, probably 6 months, 6 months to 2 years maximum, and fines up to $2,000. So an example would be public nudity, cruelty to animals, and trespassing at night. There are things that they're on your criminal record. It's not good, but it's not something where you're going to be doing serious jail time. Also, when you are going to be judged for that crime, it's usually by a judge by themselves. In some cases, you don't even need a lawyer because you can defend yourself. So we call small claims court or small crimes court, like, you know, it's the lowest level of court. So when you go in there, so Ryan got drunk and he peed on the side of Willowwood. Cops pull him, arrest him. He gets charged with public indecency and drunkenness, and I think probably another crime. He goes before a judge. They ask him when he pleads. He tells them, bing, bang, boom, he's out, right? Or he pays the fine, or again, not really jail time. It could also be that maybe just community service. It could be maybe he has to work in the community, whatever it is, but it's not a major offense. The next one is indictable offenses, which are more serious examples, right? For example, these are ones that there's a fine and you could be charged up from 2 years up to 25 years or life, depending upon it. If you are going to trial, you have a choice between a judge or judge and jury, right? Sometimes you want to choose a judge because you figure a judge will be functioning to the law. Sometimes you choose a jury because the jury will have to follow the law. You figure that, you know, you can convince these people that you might think you have a better chance at convincing a jury, or at least creating a jury that says we can't make a decision, so this is a mistrial. Examples of perjury, arson, and murder are the ones that carry weight. So when we talk about perjury carrying 14 years, it's a major offense. Arson, which is burning a building, it's a major offense. And murder, again, is probably the most serious offense. it carries probably the most serious crime. Indictable offenses sometimes will carry something called, what's the term of special offender or serious offender. So, especially with murder, usually we have a limit to how long people can stay in jail even if they commit murder. But a serious offender is someone that doesn't get parole. So, Paul Bernardo, the Scarborough rapist, the serial killer, he is a special offender, and therefore he will never be released from prison. He'll never get parole. He goes to parole every once in a while, but he's never getting out. Right? He's going to stay in prison for the rest of his life.
Sorry, what crimes you commit? I don't know.
Okay, so without getting gross, when I was a kid, he and his wife drugged his wife's sister, and they had sex with her. And then she died, so they killed her. And then they kidnapped two 15-year-old girls, drugged them, had sex with them, and killed them. He also is responsible for a string of rapes in Scarborough in the 1990s. His wife turned evidence against him and got a plea deal, so she only did about 14 years, and probably not even all of it. And now she's living somewhere in Quebec under a different name. Well, he was spending the rest of his life in prison, and it was controversial because people said the Crown attorneys basically made a deal with her because if she turns on him, we can get the evidence and then we can convict him. But then you found out later that she was probably a participant in it as well. She portrayed herself as he manipulated me into this life, but it seems like maybe that wasn't the case, that she was also a participant and a partner in the crimes. So there are lots of people who are angry that she's got off. She's moved several times. She can't be near kids. She's a dangerous offender, or she has to file. So even though she changed her name, she must register that she's a sex offender in an area when she moves into a new area. I remember my wife, when she was in journalism school, she said she had to go to the Paul Bernardo trials. She was very disturbing because they would, one, describe what had happened, and two, because they had videotaped the first sexual assault and murder and death, they had to watch it. So if you know anything about criminal court cases, when there's evidence, you have to watch it. So if you are, if I'm a Crown attorney and I'm prosecuting child pornography, I have to watch it because I have to watch that this is the person who did this. So those people in those areas who do that type of crime, police officers, Crown attorneys, they tend to burn out pretty quickly because they see disgusting things. And they have to, because they have to testify, yes, I saw this, I know what's going on. So he gets special. So he's never, ever going to make bail. He's never ever going to leave prison. He might in 25 years appeal for bail, but people will say he is a special offender or criminal offender, and he can't leave. Right? It's only for people who are so bad they cannot leave. It's kind of the replacement for the death penalty that happened in Canada up to 1976. I believe 76, 72. It's just that people we think that are so dangerous have to stay in prison, where most people, if you get charged with a crime, you serve a third before you go for parole. And if you can show that you you've learned your lesson or served your crime, you'll then get into a halfway house, right? Which means you stay someplace where you're monitored just for the rest of your sentence. And then once you've served your sentence, your actual time, you're free to go, but you have a criminal record. Hybrid offenses are serious. It varies according to the circumstances of the offense. Examples: theft under 5,000, public mischief, sexual assault. The hybrid offenses are the ones that could go either way, right? Me grabbing your arm is an assault. Me punching your face is an assault, right? Sexual assault can go either way. So these are ones that the Crown can say, you know what, that's a serious offense. We're going to move towards the more indictable law area versus someone who's going to do a summary offense where it's like, what's going on? So except on the 55,000, it could be You stole a very expensive computer. Maybe they want to charge you with give you more, give you a heftier fine. So hybrid are ones that can go either way, uh, but it depends upon the thickness of the offense, right? If the person shows a maliciousness or more of a serious uh, attempt, or this is part of some plan that's larger than this, you probably get a serious offense. If this was, again, Thomas climbing the roof at night to see the solar panels, he probably get the more summary offense conviction versus the indictable. If he climbed the roof to see the solar panels, to break the solar panels, he probably would get indictable offense because that's more serious. Because why is he climbing just to hang out and see what's going on? That's one thing. If he's climbing to come up there to destroy them because he doesn't believe in solar power, it's more of a serious offense. So, like with civil law, we break the groups down to different types of offenses. There's offenses against the person, which means there are crimes against that are directed towards an individual or a person. So, and here's a little snapshot of criminal code of Canada, and this is some of the things that are crimes against the person. So, offenses against public order, firearms and other weapons, the administration of law and justice, sexual offenses, public morals, disorderly conduct, invasion of privacy, disorderly houses, gaming and betting, offenses against a person and reputation, offenses against the rights of property, fraudulent transactions relating to contracts and trade, willful and forbidden acts in respect to certain property, offenses relating to currency. And so those are different types of classifications for the criminal code. So the big one that we have for crimes against a person is, of course, homicide, right? The killing of another human being either directly or indirectly, right? That is the most serious offense we have. Culpable homicide is killing for which the accused can be held legally responsible. So I want to kill somebody. I come with a plan. I enact my plan. I kill someone. I am responsible for culpable homicide. I planned it. I wanted to do it. That was my goal. That was my intent. I get charged for that.
Sorry, well, is that basically like first degree murder,
right? Yeah, we'll get into the degrees murder later, but it's kind of similar because yes, but we'll talk about it because degrees are just talking about the levels of murder, but you're close. Because you're thinking about culpable if you planned it. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Non-culpable homicide is killing for which the person cannot be held legally responsible, right? So, for example, it gives you an example here, such as when the death is caused by an unforeseeable accident. In Canada, there are other cases in which homicide is considered non-culpable, acting under military orders in times of war, or defending another one's person. In countries such as sanctioned capital punishment, executions are not considerable forms of non-culpable homicide. This one just says basically you're not held legally responsible for committing murder, right? So if I'm a soldier in a war and I shoot somebody, I'm not culpable, right? If Ryan is being threatened and killed, and in my defense of Ryan, I kill somebody, I'm not culpable, right? So if I say to you, oh, do me a favor, could you hold on to this mouse for me, and then the mouse explodes and kills you, I'm not culpable because the chances, it's not foreseeable that my mouse will explode and it would kill you. Right? So let's talk about murder because everyone likes to talk about murder. So there's, again, so murder is the intentional killing of another human being, and there are different levels, right? First degree murder has to have these things. It is planned and deliberate. It is planned and deliberate. One person hires another person to commit murder, so that's another one. The victim is a police officer or a prison employee or another person employed for the preservation of maintenance of public order. The murder is caused while committing or attempting to commit another serious offense. So hijacking, sexual assault with a weapon, causing bodily harm, aggravated assault, kidnapping, and forceful confinement, taking hostages. These situations, murder does not have to be planned and deliberate to qualify as first degree. So first degree murder means that is planned, deliberate, and these are the things that you will be charged with, right? If I plan to kill Ryan, it's first degree murder. If I hire Thomas to kill Ryan, it's first degree murder. If I kill a police officer, anyone involved in public order, it's first degree murder. And if I am trying to rip off, if I'm trying to steal Heather's car, but in the process of stealing Heather's car to get it, I shoot her and kill her, that's first degree murder. Right? So those are all the things that if you were on jury, you would say, let's say Helen's up for murder and it's first degree, and I'm saying, and I'm a judge, I would say, you're on the jury, I'd say, look, she gets, you have these choices of murder, right? If you think it's first degree, she has to have committed any one of those four things. Right? That's what first degree murder is. So if, let's say, she was shoving somebody and she hit and they slept, hit their head, that's not first degree murder. So you couldn't charge her for that crime because technically it wasn't planned, it wasn't deliberate, it wasn't police officer, it wasn't all those things. Okay? So it doesn't have to be all of them, but it can be one of those things you could say that's a category, that's a first degree murder. Second degree murder is any murder not classified as first degree murder. So the mandatory minimum sentence for both first degree and second degree is life imprisonment, but life imprisonment tends to be 25 years, right? At 25 years, you get them for parole, right? I mean, there you can get life imprisonment, but after 25 years, you can't apply for parole. 25 years is also a pretty long time. How old are you guys now?
I'm 16.
Okay. So if you go to jail for 25 years, how old will you be? Right? So a big chunk of your life is gone, right? Right? It's hard to now start life at 30. If you were in high school and ended up in prison and then left prison when you turned 31, that chunk of life gone, right? If you're older, if you're in your mids, and again, that's if you get parole, right? That's if you've done all those things. So second degree murder is, I think, again, if I remember my law correctly, second degree murder is not, it's when you commit murder and the intent to commit murder happens in the moment, right? So instead of me saying, I'm going to kill Regina, I got a whole plan set up to do it, that's first degree. But if Regina and I are wrestling and I'm like fighting with her and I grab her by the neck, go, that's it, I've had it, and I snap her neck, that's second degree murder. Because I did intend to do it, but it wasn't like I had some master plan for years and years and years. It was just at that moment, I'm going to do it, right? And manslaughter is when someone dies because of an action that I committed, but the intent wasn't there. So I get mad at Thomas. I said, I've had you not doing, I'm tired of doing work. And I shove him into a wall, hits the wall, hits his head. He gets internal bleeding, he dies. That's manslaughter, right? I'm driving my car. I'm having an argument with my wife. I'm not into the road. I hit like somebody. That's vehicular manslaughter, right? Because I didn't mean to kill the person, but I didn't. It happened. Okay. You can look at the different types of murder, but there's like different. And again, side kind of is the in the word. That's the kind of part that says death or end or end of life. And the first part of it is always what it is. So homicide is the killing of one person. Infanticide means killing of a what? If I commit infanticide, who am I killing? Right. The killing of a newborn infant by the child's mother, so it's like a baby, like killing a little baby. What's regicide? Regicide. Do we know? Regicide.
Murder of your parents?
No, that's
Partricide.
particide. But you know what regicide is? It's just a little quick question. What's regicide? It's a murder of a king. Right? So whatever it is, like homicide, thing-side, I don't know if there's one, I think it's genericide, but yeah, there are different types of what they call special crimes. Killing of a child, of an infant, it's a serious enough crime that becomes its own separate thing because a baby what has a baby ever done? Right? They're literally defenseless. Right? Human babies are designed to just be like, they don't do anything. Like, if you look at a horse or a dog, they're up on their feet in like minutes. But a baby is pretty much defenseless for the first year of its life. And for someone to kill a baby, that's a serious enough offense that becomes its own separate look, that's a separate offense. That's homicide. So manslaughter, again, says here, the couple homicide is not classified as murder or infanticide. So again, see there's two people arguing. And again, it's when someone dies in a situation that wasn't planned, and there's an action, but the intent isn't to murder someone. You can be angry at someone, want to fight someone, you can shove someone, you can be really angry, and someone dies. That would be manslaughter. You try to argue, and that's the way to argue about killing someone without generally having the intent. Right? You're still responsible for someone's life if you use some acts of violence, right?
Well,
Yeah.
what happens if like someone, for example, has a road rage and they kill two people that they do not intend to kill?
That would so a creditor could say, look, I could say it's second degree murder. Some would say it's manslaughter, right? If I were defending someone, if let's say Nate went to road rage and I'm his defense, I may say, look, you're not gonna get off, right? You killed people, but maybe I can get you manslaughter, right? I can't get you acquitted. And they're looking for second degree murder because someone cut you off and then roll right to, let's say someone cut you off and you think, I'm gonna kill that person. That's still murder because if your intent is to harm that person, whether you planned it out weeks in advance and hired somebody, or in that moment you said, I'm gonna just kill this person, it's still homicide, still murder. But manslaughter would be, if I was Nate Lorego, look, he didn't mean to really kill that person. He just got angry and wanted to have a confrontation, right? But the mens rea for this offense is that any reasonable person could not have foreseen the wrongful act could pose a risk to bodily harm was neither trivial or transitory, neither insignificant or temporary. To be found guilty of manslaughter, the offender did not have to foresee the wrongful act could result in death. So that simply means I don't have to foresee it's going to happen in death, but I should have enough. But it can happen because I've committed a violent act. So criminal negligence is kind of the same thing. If I hit somebody with my fist, they could die, right? If I get into a physical confrontation with somebody, could they die? Right, so I can still get charged for manslaughter. I don't intend to kill somebody, but if I choose to get into a fight with somebody, then it's foreseeable that that person can get injured or die, right? So I hit Ryan to knock him down, but it is foreseeable that Ryan's going to lay on the ground, hit his head, and then bleed out, right? He'll have internal bleeding in his skull. He could die, right? I could hit him in his nose. I could crush something. He could die, right? I could strangle him by his throat and crush his larynx. He can't breathe. He can die. So it's not something that I'm saying that I necessarily am trying to do it. But if you get into a fight with somebody, you could kill them. And it's foreseeable, right? That's why it's to walk away from a fight, because you're still liable. Right? Now, if you're attacked, then yes, you can defend yourself, right? But it's only reasonable force to match the forces coming against you, right? So if someone just and I push them off, that's enough, right? I can't push them off, then walk over to them, throw them on the ground, pull a knife, stab the knife in their hand, right? While I start kicking them with shoes, with my boots on their head. That's not, you see how that's gone too far, right? I've not defended myself. I've gone beyond that because my intent could be, And then people say that's second degree murder because maybe at that moment I figured I'm going to kill this guy, right? Now, people have used the word provocation as words or actions can be used that could cause a reasonable person to behave irrationally or lose self-control. However, it's not a defense per se. You cannot be provocated to commit murder. You could maybe use the argument to say to lessen the degree of murder, but you can't say, Thomas was making fun of me for weeks. I just snapped, right? Provocation is not a defense. It is a way to mitigate the seriousness of the act, but it's never a way to, you can't get out of murder because someone made you really mad. If that were the case, we'd have no people charged with murder. Right? Because if you're going to kill somebody, why are you going to kill them? Anyone? Why would you kill somebody? Revenge? But what are the other things? They make you angry, right? That's a component. Now, maybe you're a sociopath, maybe you don't care, you just like to see people die, maybe you want revenge, but there's an element of this person made me so angry, I need to hurt them, right? So you can't claim that the person bothered you, right? We look at defenses later. There's a defense that talks about, people are threat, like when people talk about threat for your life, some have argued that if someone's stalking someone, right? So if Helen ends up marrying Ryan Gosling, but Ryan Gosling gets super psychotic and chases her down and says, "I'm going to kill you every night." He shows up at our house, all creepy looking, holding a balloon at 2:00 in the morning, a red one, right? And he's constantly threatening her. Her tires get slashed in her car. She has a dog, but he leaves the dog burning on her lawn. If she were to kill him, she could say, "Look, he literally is telling me he's going to kill me. He's left sides. He's done all these things, right? I feared for my life, so I killed him." Maybe the jury says, "Yeah, I get it, because Ryan Gosling has done a series of things to let her know that you're dead," right? And she gets so frightened and so she thinks, "I'm going to die. He's going to kill me," right? Knows what to stop me, right? Especially if the police catch what he can stop him. He's done all these things. She can make the argument that, hey, the fear of my life means that I had to kill him, right? It's tricky, but there have been cases like that. Okay, so then you have assault. It's the threatened or actual physical contact without consent, right? Different levels of assault. Level 1 is a hybrid offense that carries a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment. And examples include pushing someone or threatening a person with violence. Words themselves are not considered an assault, but they can be accompanied by the act or a gesture. An assault compromises any one of the following, right? This is an assault for level 1. Intentionally applying force to another person, either directly or indirectly without the person's consent, attempting or threatening to, by act or gesture, apply force, or accosting or impeding another person, or begging or openly wearing or carrying a weapon, or intimidation of a weapon. So, if I grab Thomas and I hold him and I throw him against the wall, that's assault. If I say, "Thomas, if you say one more thing to me, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to put my fist through your face," right? You can argue that's assault. If I pull out a gun and I say, "If any one of you guys open your damn mouth one more time, I'm going to shoot somebody," that's assault, right? Level 2 is the assault with a weapon causing bodily harm. It's when I actually go and do something with the weapon. This episode is defined by injuring a person in a way that has serious consequences for the victim's health and comfort. It may also involve you carrying, using, or threatening to use a weapon. This hybrid offense carries a penalty of 10 years imprisonment. So now, instead of me saying, "I'm going to shoot you," I shoot him, right? You die, but it's assault with carrying bodily harm. Or I say, "Helen, I've had enough of your volleyball nonsense," and I take a bat and I smash her hands, right? That's assault causing bodily harm, right? Level 3 is aggravated assault, which is defined as wounding, maiming, or disfiguring, or endangering the life of a victim. It's an indictable offense and carries a maximum sentence of up to 14 years. That's level 3. That's me saying to Ryan, "I've had enough of you," I throw acid in his face, right? "I had enough of you, Ryan," and I take machete and I chop off his leg. The right one or the left one. Right? Because I'm trying to disfigure him. I'm trying to maim him. Right? So also there are different levels, and each one goes about 5 years of punishment. So it can be different levels of assault. Sexual assault is again, there are different levels again, but it's a not invited. It's touching with sexual nature that's not invited or consensual. So first level of sexual assault is defined that violates a person's sexual integrity, involves sexual nature that is not invited or consensual. According to Canada, over 96% of reported sexual assaults fall this level. It's a hybrid offense, and you get a max of 10 years in prison. So that's like Thomas is on the bus, and someone grabs him in a sexual place. Right? That's Thomas goes to work, his boss goes, hey, sweetheart, hits him on his bum. Right? That's sexual, like, whoa, I didn't ask for that. Right? It's not invited, it's not consensual. Now, if Thomas goes to work and says, hey, everybody, you want to smack my butt? Go right ahead. I don't have a problem with it. It's not sexual assault. Having said that, if he says, I don't care if everyone does it, but you, Ryan, don't do it, and Ryan does it, it's sexual assault. Right? Third is sexual assault with a weapon that threats are caused by a third person causing bodily harm. That's when someone says, I'm going to touch you sexually or assault you sexually, and you have a weapon. So someone puts a knife to your throat and starts grabbing you in a sexual way. And sexual assault is, again, wooing, aiming, maiming someone to do so. So who's the guy's name? Jian Gameshi, when he was going through his nonsense, he would have been charged with sexual assault causing bodily harm, because the situation was that the woman said he would choke them, hit them, and punch them. Right? So that's bodily harm, but he's not maiming and wounding them. Now, if he did cut them or stab at them or do something, then that would be aggravated sexual assault. So, is suicide a crime? Oh, I'm like, oh. Right. So if I commit suicide, do I get charged with a crime? Right. Can I aid someone in committing suicide? Can I say, if Ryan goes, I want to commit suicide, here you go, have some pills. Right. Right. Now, can doctors get charged with aiding suicide?
Yeah.
Not anymore. They can help and assisted. Doctors can. I think it's in Canada now. They ask the question. They can't help in people who are terminally ill. So if I have a disease that I'm going to die from, and I don't want to live 5 more years of pain, I can ask my doctor to, hey, can you help me just sort of fade away? Like, can you make death painless? Can you give me drugs? Can you just put me out? Can you just help me commit suicide? So now doctors can't do it, right? They're allowed to do that. Right. Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean doctors can just look at you and say, oh, Gina, is that a hangnail? You gotta go, right? But they can, if, again, you are ill and you are terminal and you're not gonna live, and you're asking for you're asking for help to commit suicide, doctors can assist you, right? I mean, you can also, as a person, say, I don't want a do not resuscitate order, which means if you get sick or you go into a coma, you can tell your doctors, don't wake me. Right? You can say, if I go into a coma, don't do anything. Don't do any necessary and extraordinary things to help me. I just want to die. Okay? So while you cannot be charged with suicide, even if you attempt to do suicide and you fail, you can be charged with attempting someone to commit suicide. So I cannot buy the pills for Thomas to commit suicide. So motor vehicle offenses, dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, which means that, if you're driving a car, that is what? So what's that mean, dangerous operation of a motor vehicle? What does that all mean? Does anybody want to take a guess?
Dangerous over vehicle.
Right, so that means I'm speeding, I'm on my cell phone, yeah, I'm drunk, I don't have, my car is not in good state, I don't have brakes. Like, if I'm operating a motor vehicle in a dangerous way, I'm responsible, right? So, if I go out for a drink after work and I get in the car and I hit somebody and my blood tests over the limit, I'm in trouble, right? If I know my brakes are shot in my car and I drive it anyway, I'm in trouble, right? If I'm on my cell phone, can I be on my cell phone and drive at the same time? No, right? I'm in trouble. Can I, technically speaking, did anyone ever take, there were these things, did anyone ever go to, what's that, the X, I guess? Did anyone ever go to like the X or someplace where they did a dangerous driving, distracted driving thing where they basically put you in a car and they ask you to now turn on the radio, now do this, do that? They had this little thing, this pavilion where they put you in a car, not a wheel car, but like a simulator, and they would say, do these different things, right? Because they want to teach you how even turning the radio in your car is a distraction, right? Because if you turn the radio, you're gonna hit somebody. Right, so they'd say, turn on the radio, now pick up your cup to get a drink some coffee, right? So they were trying to show you that while cell phones are a big deal, even like going into your glove department to get something while driving is dangerous. Okay. Fair to stop at a scene of an accident. If you commit an accident or an accident, you leave, it's a crime, right? You're supposed to stay there for the police to investigate. So if you hit somebody, do not drive away. It's a crime. Impaired driving, of course, we know what that is. If you're driving under the alcohol, what is the alcohol limit? Anyway, people, do you know what the alcohol limit is for people to driving? What's the amount of alcohol you can have in your body? All right, so, well, that's true, but also if you're under the age of 22, can you drive with any alcohol in your system? No. But if you got your G and I'm an adult, how much alcohol can I have in my system? It's 0.05. It used to be, but now it's 5. 4 or 5 years ago, I think. So technically speaking, that's about 1 beer. But it depends upon your body weight, your tolerance, and how you absorb alcohol, right? For some people would drink a beer and it's not there. Other people would drink half a beer and their blood alcohol would go up like that. Also, your weight, how you handle processes of liquor. But they did that recently because what they're really trying to say is, should you drink and drive at all? No. Right? No. Have I had a drink and driven in a car? Yes. Have I had 10 drinks during the car? No. Right? And sometimes when I go out, when I'm used to all go out and do things together before COVID, sometimes I go someplace and you want to drink, and I'd say, I probably shouldn't because I'm driving. People go, but if you wait a couple of hours, you should be fine. Yeah, I guess so. But, technically speaking, if I go out with my wife, I go, who's driving home? Right? Because what I'm saying is, which one of us is going to drink? Okay? Now, sometimes I'll have again, I'm not telling anyone to drink and drive. Listen, you guys at home, you guys here, don't do it. But it's a tricky thing where if I'm under the legal limit, I'm fine. It doesn't mean that I'm a good driver or that I'm not impaired, though. You understand what that means? What do I mean by that? Even if I'm under the legal limit, but I'm still impaired. What do I mean by that? Right. And I just may not tolerate alcohol really well, right? Human beings are different. We have different ways of processing alcohol. And quite frankly, I may be a person that can't hold my liquor for a thing, right? So even if I had half a beer, I could still be as intoxicated. And there may be people who technically can drink more, but can tolerate more, right? So the idea here is that you're not supposed to, you shouldn't have any, They say nowadays, with people under 22 years old, they say no alcohol use whatsoever. Why do you think they made that law specifically? Why do you think they made the law where it's a 20-year-olds, no alcohol whatsoever? Yeah. No offense to young people, because you're going to be 20 stuff, but quite frankly, there simply shows that people from your age, so about mid-20s or 30s, you binge drink. What do you mean by binge drinking? Right, you go, I'm gonna drink it. Jaeger, but I'm gonna drink this, I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna get messed up. You drink to excess, right? That's your, statistically speaking, your late teens, early 20s. You're drinking over the board, right? You're not having a glass of wine at dinner. You're going home and drinking half a keg, or drinking half a 2-4, right? So you're puking and you can't stand still. You know what's going on. You're dizzy and that's to excess. So don't drink when you're 22 because they're trying to say that, look, you're more apt to do that. Or you're going to drink, fine, call a cab, take a bus. Okay, offense against property. So you have theft, which is taking property of a permanently or temporarily without owner's permission. So that could be to deprive, to temporarily absolutely the owner or person who has special property or interested in of a thing the property is interested in, the pledge or deposit is a security, to part with a certain conditions with respect to return of its person's parts who may not be unable to perform, to deal with such a manner that cannot be restored in condition that it was at the time it was taken or converted. So there's a picture of this woman here, and she's stealing something. So if I take your computer, whether it's temporary or permanently, I'm stealing it. Right? If I take a part of a condition, let's say your job, or I take away something like that, or from you, I'm stealing it, right? If I take your laptop and I smash it and give it back to you, I've stolen it, I've theft, right? Because I didn't return to you in the condition it was supposed to be in. You read the story about Salih Muhammad who took someone's car. So suppose Sally borrows a car from her friend Muhammad. She tells Muhammad she's going to the mall, return the car in 3 hours. At the mall, Salih meets another friend, Naya, who lives out of town. Salih gives Naya a ride home, Muhammad's car, and then stays with her for a couple of days. On the third day, she tries to return Muhammad's car, but is stopped by a police officer. Turns the word theft. Though Salih had permission to use Muhammad's car, it was stated for a period of time, 3 hours. When she kept it for 2 days without asking the owner's permission, she committed the act of theft. Okay? So there are certain things you could do to mitigate this. Something called the color of right, which is the honest belief the person owns or has permission to use an item, right? If I just said, we goes, well, can I borrow your car? Yeah, take it. Do it. Take it. Go ahead. You use whenever, right? And she goes across country for a drive, or take my keys. Don't worry about it. Just use whenever you need to use it, right? And she got for 2 days, comes back. I can't remember what theft. But she could say, but Walt told me I could take the car. He didn't say when to return it. He said take whenever. But I took it whenever, right? Okay, theft over its indictable offenses of stealing goods worth $5,000, and theft under is a hybrid offense of stealing goods under $5,000. So that tends to be the scale here. It's over $5,000. It's a serious offense. You're going to go to probably do some jail time. Under 5,000, it's hybrid. You could do it serious time or not serious time, depending upon the nature of the commission of the act. Robbery is theft through violence, right? So if I tell Regina, take my car, and she doesn't return in 3 days, say, bring up my car in an hour, and she comes back 3 days later, it's theft, right? If Regina pulls out a gun and goes, give me your car right now, that's robbery, right? So there's a difference between the two things. Okay, what's breaking and entering? Anyone want to guess what I mean to break and enter? Right, so breaking is that first you forcefully try to get into someone's house and you enter into someone's house. It's called breaking and entering. Breaking or opening something in order to enter the premises without permission with the intent to commit an indictable offense. So breaking and entering, I'm breaking into Thomas's house to steal his collection of stamps. That's breaking and entering, right? It's also theft. Now, in some defenses, some people say there's another one you could use that, but if Helen was outside and it's a winter storm and she's got wearing shorts and a tank top and she breaks into someone's house, is she committing breaking and entering?
No.
No,
because she-
because she's getting in not to commit an offense, but to stay warm. Right. Right. So you have to go in there to go do something, right?
Because if you're in the colder weather, you could get hypothermia.
Yeah. One of the differences are that you want to stay, you try to stay warm. So basically, you can't do it. Okay. So here's a case. This is the case of Mario. He was deer hunting in northern Ontario in the snow. He became separated from his companions and lost all sense of direction as the wind picked up and created a whiteout. He stumbled on a vacant lot, cottage, kicked open the door, took shelter till the storm blew over. Mario was not guilty of breaking and entering because he had no intent to commit an indictable offense once inside the house, right? So I'm not saying breaking someone's house because you're cold, but I am saying that you couldn't be charged with breaking and entering because you're not going there to steal something. You're going there because you have no option. Having said that, if I describe Helen's situation and her house is 500 meters that way, she can't break into the house right in front of her because she's cold. It's like, why don't you just go home? Oh, right. Didn't think about that. Sorry. Okay? There has to be some extraordinary circumstances. Other offenses are mischief. What's mischief? Someone says you're causing mischief. Yeah. So destruction of property and data, interfering with lawful use of property or data, or interfering with any person's lawful use of property or data. So it can be, going to someone's house and taking, let's say, when people used to have mail delivered to their houses, taking out their mailbox. It can be putting banana pipes in someone's car, right? It can be going outside your local Tim Hortons and throwing water balloons at someone as they walk out of Tim Hortons. It's mischief, right? Public mischief means false information that causes the police to start to review an investigation without cause, right? Public mischief can be Helen calls the police and says there's a murder in the building. Someone's shooting all the kids, right? Police come to show what's going on. It's public mischief because she's used false information. Fraud is intentionally deceiving or someone in order to cause a loss of property, money, or service, right? So fraud is when you are, we talked about this yesterday with did I talk to you about the Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme was? Yeah, I think I did, didn't I? Yeah, it's the idea that give me money, so I'll invest your money, but I don't invest your money. I take your money and give it to Thomas because I took Thomas's money. Look, I get 20% return. Then Thomas tells Helen, give me your money. I'll get you more money, but I take the money from Thomas gave me to give to Helen, right? It's selling something on Amazon saying it works and doesn't work, right? It's a bunch of different transactions. It's, claiming you own a house but don't own a house and try to sell it. Okay? Prostitution is the act of engaging in sexual services for money. Now, this is the weird thing, I think, about prostitution. Technically speaking, the act of selling sex is not illegal. However, if someone makes money off of it, it is illegal. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so if Thomas, I won't use two. If Steve has sex with someone else and that person gives Steve money, that's okay. If Steve puts up an ad on Facebook, 1-800-CALL-TAYLOR, and people write it down and go and give him money for that act, then that's illegal, right? If I was Steve's pimp and I was getting money from it, that'd be illegal. If I arrange the school, a place where he could have sex for money, that would be illegal. But the actual exchanging of, if someone wants to give someone money for sex privately, it's not really illegal, right? It's the services around it that are become illegal, right? So you can't go to a car and offer sexual services to someone in a car. It's illegal, right? You can't have, you can't have a prostitute or a body house. So you can't have a house where people go to have sex, right? For prostitution, right? Now, there are things like sex clubs in Toronto where people go to have sex, but it's not for exchange of money, right? So that's the weird thing, because pornography could also mean, prostitution could also mean pornography, because technically, if you engage in pornography, you are having sex for money, but it's not the same as prostitution. Or that's legal, so it's prostitution, but the services around prostitution are illegal. See, you understand what I mean? Right? If a police officer is trying to arrest someone for prostitution, they have to sort of get that person to come to them and then offer their services to them, and then they can charge you, right? But if a police officer meets someone, they have sex, and the person just leaves money on the table, okay? Gambling is a common body household disorder, so you can't gamble, right? And you can't have houses for gambling. Yes, we have casinos, and yes, you can have licenses to gamble. Yes, you can have Proline, exclusively Proline, right? We do have lottery, that's gambling, so you can't have those things, but it's not necessarily, you can't just have private gambling because it's legal. We done here? So I'm going to take a pause on this because it's break time and I have to go through drug offenses. So let's take a pause. Okay, so next thing are drug offenses, right? Which means that, so in our country, there are certain substances that you can't have ownership to. So it's called controlled substance. Any drug listed in Schedules 1 to 5 of the Controlled Subjects and Substance Act, right? So there's a list of drugs that, according to this act, you can't have possession of, right? Without a prescription or a doctor, and it depends on which one is. Possession is, so when it comes to drug offenses, you get charged with possession. Possession is a state of having knowledge or of and control over something. So I remember when I first started here, we were talking about when marijuana was still legal, and that some student had some weed in their locker. And one of the things that we were told by their lawyer is don't touch it. Because if we take it, we are not in possession of it, right? We are to see it in the locker, call some authority or call your lawyer, and they will tell you what to do with it. Because if you take it and put it someplace, you're not in possession of that drug. And depending upon the type of drug, it could be do it. Here it says for possession of drug, person must have possession and know that the item is what the item is, and have some sort of measure of control over it. So if I see a bag of powder and I think it's soap, I'm not in possession of cocaine. If I know it's cocaine, and I can move the cocaine, then I have some possession of it. Second, a person may be found in possession even if he or she gives the item in question to another person. So I have the cocaine. Helen, hold this for me. What is that? Is that cocaine? Of course not, right? I'm still in possession because I gave it to her, right? Hold on to this for me. I have to go talk to Fred. Thirdly, a person can be charged with possession even if the person does not own the controlled substance or have it in his or her possession, as long as the person knows about it and consents to its possession by someone else. So if I say, Helen, I need you to hold on to this cocaine from, she goes, okay, Walid, puts it in her purse. technically it's my possession, but it's also her possession too, because she is not holding it for me. She knows what it is. She knows she has control over it. So possession is a very serious thing, right? Again, on this page, if you want to look at it in your textbook, this tells you what all the different types of drugs are and the offenses. So opium and its derivatives, including codeine, morphine, heroin, cocaine, methadone, and that's the maximum penalty you have for it. The first offense, how much each offense is. Cannabis is Schedule 2, which includes cannabis resin, hashish, and marijuana. I don't. This is an old book, so this has probably changed a bit because I don't know if it's Schedule 2 drug anymore because there is no fine for it. It's not on list anymore. Schedule 3 is amphetamines, the derivatives, including methamphetamine, speed, MDA, ecstasy, LSD, DMT, psilocybin, and mescaline. Again, less. And then Schedule 4 are barbiturates, Valium, anabolic steroids is not an offense. And Schedule 5 are, I don't know what these are. Steve would know what these drugs are, but I don't know what these are. So you notice that Schedule 1 is the most serious of drugs, and as it goes further down, less. Like, for example, steroids. Is there a charge for steroids? If you have steroids, can you be charged for possession?
No.
No. Technically speaking, there's no offense to it, right? You're not supposed to take it, you're not supposed to do it, but you might get it from someone. Valium is also something, a diazepam. So, do you know what Valium is? If you are anxious or you are having anxiety attacks, it's supposed to basically kill it, right? So if I were like having panic attacks where I would feel like, so I mean, when I mean, sorry, an anxiety attack, which means that I have an attack where I feel like I'm having a heart attack, right? If I sweat, I do all the things I thought I was having a heart attack, they may give me diazepam because it's something that would just, it would, I think it's a downer as a drug. I think it's one of those drugs that sort of just brings you down to a certain level. So it wouldn't be, I wouldn't get charged for it. But at the same time, you just can't get diazepam, whatever. I'd have to go to my doctor and say, I'm having these anxiety attacks. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. I feel stressed out. You know, I don't know. I can't do anything. They may put me on diazepam. Okay. What's trafficking? When someone talks about drugs and trafficking, I'm going to traffic drugs. What am I doing? Right. Involves selling, giving, transporting, or distributing controlled substance or acquisition of a controlled substance. So you can't traffic drugs, right? And part of possession and trafficking is the weight, right? The size. So if I have a little bit of cocaine on me, I've got possession. If I have 30 kilos of cocaine, I'm trafficking, right? Even if I said, well, I bought it all for myself, that's too much for me to have. It gives the intent I'm going to sell it. Right? No one has 50 keys of, 30 kilograms of cocaine unless they're going to sell it. Okay? And here it just breaks down what happens when you're trying to sell the drugs, how much problem you get. All right, so again, you know, Schedule 1 and 2 drugs, it's life imprisonment. Schedule 3 is 10 years or 18 months. And then Schedule 4 is much less. You know what money laundering is? Sorry, I have to just go through this pretty quickly. What is to launder money? Someone a money launderer.
Money laundering is basically using a front business or just like some way of collecting money that doesn't actually get you money to cover illegal activities such as drug trafficking by
Right.
the origin of the term owning laundry like laundry places.
Excellent. Thank you. So that's exactly it. It's basically I'm a drug dealer and I have tons of money. But people are going to think, but I have to clean that money. So then I set up a business where I take that money and I use that money to fund that business. And then when people go in to buy their laundry or whatever, and I say I'm making this money from these people selling this or for me to do my whatever it is, the profits are the money that's been cleaned. right? So sometimes drug dealers will give money to somebody who will then take that money, invest into other things, and then when they get the return back, it becomes laundered, which means the money is now clean, and the person who does the laundering takes a percentage. Right, so it's illegal to do that. So you're not allowed to take money from a criminal enterprise and invest it. If you do that, you're money laundering. Right. And any type of criminal enterprise uses money laundering because it's a way to make legitimate your money. Because once that money goes through a legitimate business, it is now clean. Before that, it's illegal. It's can be taken, can be used as sort of as this is now illegal money or money from illegal proceeds. So I'm trying to get as fast as I can. So here you can talk about, like, here you go. This is an example of money laundering. Dirty money proceeds of crime, goes into money laundering, which is a business, and later, right, which means you do loans, and you. So basically, you give money to a thing. You do fake loans. So I have money. I pretend to lend money to Thomas. I'm not really doing that. He's just taking the money. Then he pretends to pay me back, right? And that money is now clean because it's gone through a process of it's not the drug money, it's the money that I've lent him to buy a house that he's not going to buy, that he's now paying me back. Right? And because it integrates with like clean money, it becomes clean. And then the people who do that take a percentage of it. So if any watch any mob film at any time, there's always a scene where somebody has to go to somebody else to launder their money, right? I gotta go to, and what's that one? That one, Pacino. Usually launders money in Godfather. I'm talking the other one. He shoots a gun, has tons of cocaine. What's that movie?
Al Pacino.
Yeah, he plays a Cuban refugee who. What's the movie?
Scarface.
Scarface, thank you. Like, he maybe goes to the bank to launder his money because he's got all this drug money, but he can't do anything with it. Or Johnny Depp, when he talks about the guy who worked with what's the guy's name in Colombia? Totally forget his name.
Oh, Escobar.
Escobar, yes. So that's an example that he had to launder his money because Escobar had so much money, he has to clean it, right? Like, at a time, Escobar was considered was one of the wealthiest people on the planet. Technically speaking, there's supposed to still be tons of his money hidden somewhere in Colombia because he would bury like billions of dollars, right? And they haven't found it yet. I think that's it. So those are the major offenses of committing crimes. So guys, so again, don't hit anybody, don't steal something from anybody, don't break into someone's house. And if someone gives you illegal money, do not invest it. You will be charged with a crime, right? Especially because you know that the money is illegal, right? Right? If you know things about, like, even in our banking system, if Regina walks into a bank and goes, here, I got $25,000, can I open a bank account? They will flag it right away. Because they'll say, where'd you get $25,000 from? Oh, I sold, candy grams. It's been a good year, right? She gets flagged right away. So you can only deposit a certain amount of money before it triggers an investigation with Revenue Canada, where they're going to look at where'd you get that money from. Because no one has that much money. If I withdrew that much money, I would also get targeted. Because why are you withdrawing $25,000, right? Unless I'm paying for something. Okay, so the idea is that large sums of money cannot be just thought of as, you can't just move money into a bank, and so criminal enterprises have to figure out ways to move their money into some other things. Because if I'm, again, talking about Canada, Pablo Escobar could do it because he bought off banks and he threatened to kill people and he kept most of his money in cash, right? But if I put money into a bank, someone would ask you, where'd you get that money from? Especially if it's more than, I think the limit is $10,000 in Canada, right? They'll start asking questions. They'll launch an investigation. But if I open a dollar store, right, I can launder my money, right? If I open a bunch of dollar stores, I can launder my money because they do well. Okay, all right. Any questions about crime? Any questions? Sure, no one has any question about crime? Try not to get caught? Okay, so tomorrow my goal is to go through the court system, but I'll try to go through as fast as I can. I'm just going to talk about some of the concepts. And I think I should get through most of the stuff, and I'm trying to figure out whether I'm going to do 1 or 2 assignments. I have to figure out how to do that. But yeah, my goal is to go through the criminal. I have to go through I'll briefly go through the criminal court system tomorrow, and I need to go through the offenses of different types of crimes. Like, what do you do if you get charged with a crime? And I'll briefly talk about some of the theory of how, well, the criminal court system will talk about how that works, and the basic the concept of guilty before proven innocence, and what is the role of the prosecution, what's the role of the defense, and the idea of how your rights are protected in the criminal court system.